We're showing you both sides. And if you look at our lives and look at our music, you'll see where each side takes us. Because right now, we side by side, hitting them up.
And side by side, they were until new claims came to the surface pointing at Snoop Dogg's role in Tupac's murder. The crime that has played out for decades, intriguing a lot of fans with its mystery, has now finally been solved, and fans can bid this mystery goodbye forever. But was Snoop Dogg really involved in Tupac's murder? And is he facing a jail sentence for it? Let's find out. Snoop Dogg knew about Tupac's murder. This is not the first time we're hearing of Snoop allegedly taking part in Tupac's death. Death Row founder Suge further confirms in an interview on the Collect Call podcast, where he held nothing back and demanded answers from Snoop Dogg. Knight, who was in the car with Tupac the night he was fatally shot in Las Vegas, has raised serious doubts about Snoop's role in the tragic event. According to Knight, Snoop Dogg has a lot of explaining to do when it comes to Tupac's murder. He insists that a face-to-face conversation with his ex-signee is necessary to address these grave allegations. Knight emphasizes that Tupac had treated Snoop well, giving him a platform on his iconic album All Eyes on Me and speaking highly of him. However, if the rumors are true, there will be a lot at stake for Snoop. One of the most shocking claims made by Knight is that Snoop Dogg allegedly warned rapper Daz Dillinger not to accompany the Death Row crew to Las Vegas on the fateful night of September 7, 1996. Knight asserts that Snoop knew something was going to happen and advised Dillinger to stay away. This revelation raises eyebrows and adds another layer of suspicion to the already perplexing case.
Daz was on a situation saying that Snoop told him they can't go to the fight, can't go to the club, can't go to Vegas. It's going to fuck it up because something will happen, basically.
But that's not all. Knight also addressed the remarks made by Warren G on the popular podcast Drink Champs. Warren G recalled a moment when he and Snoop learned about Tupac's shooting through a Nextel radio while they were in Los Angeles. Knight questioned why Snoop would have a radio if he wasn't present at the fight and didn't have a security detail. These details, according to Knight, raised serious doubts about Snoop's involvement and his access to crucial information.
Only way you have a radio if you was at the fight with us and you had a security detail. Now, not having a security detail, what are you doing with the radio?
Adding fuel to the fire, Knight alleges that Snoop never visited Tupac in the hospital after the shooting, despite the Dogfather's previous statements that he saw Tupac before he passed away. He got tubes in him, and when I walked in, I could just feel that he wasn't even there, and I fainted. Then his mother got me up and walked me to the bathroom and had a conversation with me about being strong. Snoop Dogg revealed in an interview, but as it turns out, he was straight capping.
Snoop never came to the hospital. Period.
This contradiction raises questions about Snoop's loyalty and his true intentions during that tumultuous time. As the story unfolds, Knight dropped another bombshell. He claimed that Snoop Dogg and Daz Dillinger collaborated on a song with one of Tupac's alleged killers, DeAndre Smith. If he was cool with Pac, why would he be okay releasing a song with one of Pac's alleged killers?
I was locked up, but Snoop, Daz, and the rest of them, they did a song with one of the niggas from that side who was in the car. If that's loyalty to Pac, shit. Motherfuckers don't need that type of loyalty.
This suggests a disturbing connection between Snoop and those responsible for Tupac's untimely demise, something Suge questioned over and over.
Now, if all these people knew what was going on in the situation, nobody never commented to tell anybody that. So you're a part of it. You part of that snake, you know what happened to the snake.
But why would Suge Knight strongly feel that Snoop was behind Pac's murder even after Snoop and Pac had been in a good friendship? We have to understand the bond and relationship between these three. It all started in 1992 when Snoop Dogg was signed to Death Row Records. Growing up in the streets of Compton, California, where gang violence was rampant, Snoop quickly developed ties to the notorious Crips gang and began his journey as a rapper at a young age. His talent and proficiency as a rapper caught the attention of record labels, leading to his signing with Death Row Records despite the controversy surrounding the label's association with Suge Knight. After signing with Death Row Records in 1992, Snoop Dogg released his debut album Doggy Style later that same year. The album became an instant hit, selling over 10 million copies worldwide and establishing Snoop Dogg as one of the leading figures in rap music. Songs like Gin and Juice and What's My Name became classics and solidified his place as a pioneer in the world of rap. At this time, Snoop was the face of Death Row Records. With his record-selling albums, he was definitely one to watch. His ability to blend genres successfully and his unique sound and poetic lyrics resonated with audiences around the world, propelling him to superstardom, but that quickly came to a halt in 1995 when a young lad entered the scene. His name, Tupac Shakur, a gangster even in his music. Tupac Shakur, a force to be reckoned with, had already made waves with his powerful lyrics and thought-provoking messages. Snoop Dogg, with his unique flow and laid-back style, was gaining attention for his undeniable talent. It was only a matter of time before their paths would intertwine, and when they did, it was nothing short of legendary. It was at a recording studio in Los Angeles where fate brought Tupac and Snoop Dogg together. Tupac was working on his groundbreaking album All Eyes on Me, and Snoop Dogg, already a part of the Death Row Records family, was invited to collaborate on a track. The atmosphere in the studio was electric, as these two young artists, both on the cusp of stardom, came together to create something truly special. As they worked side by side, a bond began to form. They quickly realized that they shared a similar vision for their music, a desire to use their platform to shed light on the struggles of their communities and to inspire change. Their chemistry was undeniable, and it was clear that they brought out the best in each other creatively. Their friendship blossomed beyond the confines of the studio. Tupac and Snoop Dogg became confidants, supporting each other through the highs and lows of their careers. They were there for each other during personal struggles, offering a shoulder to lean on and words of encouragement. In an industry known for its competitiveness and rivalries, their friendship was a beacon of loyalty and authenticity. But it wasn't just their shared love for music that brought them together. One aspect of their friendship that shocked many was their shared passion for weed. During a rap party for Poetic Justice in 1999, the two shared a blunt. Snoop Dogg admitted that this was his first blunt and that it was Tupac who introduced him to smoking blunts. On that night, Pac passed me my first blunt, a revelation that further solidified their bond. As their friendship grew, so did their influence on the hip-hop landscape. Tupac and Snoop Dogg's collaborations became anthems for a generation, resonating with fans worldwide. Their performances on stage were electrifying, capturing the essence of their friendship and the power of their music. When Tupac and Snoop Dogg joined forces, magic happened. Their chemistry was undeniable, and their collaborations became anthems for a generation. Songs like Two of America's Most Wanted and Gangsta Party showcased their lyrical prowess and the raw energy they brought to the mic. Their performances on stage were electrifying, captivating audiences with their undeniable talent and infectious energy. But it wasn't just the energy and charisma they brought to their collaborations that made them special. It was the depth of their lyrics and the messages they conveyed. Tupac, known for his thought-provoking and socially conscious lyrics, and Snoop Dogg, with his smooth delivery and storytelling abilities, complemented each other perfectly. Their music became a platform for addressing social issues, shedding light on the struggles of their communities, and inspiring change. It was clear that Tupac's entry into Death Row was a good business move for Suge Knight, and mostly to the artists as they continued to raise the West Coast flag higher.
Yeah, you know, Tupac is real creative. He basically be want to know what he want to do on his own videos, and you know, Snoop supports him, so and I support them. So I don't try to make all the decisions. I get them the right to do what they want to do.
But that soon turned sour. According to several recounts, Snoop started feeling jealous of Tupac as he was slowly taking the shine away from him in Death Row. In an interview with The Art of Dialogue Low MB, a former signee of Death Row Record, stated that the record label started shifting its dynamics after Pac started rising.
When Snoop beat that case, that's when the dynamics started changing you start hearing about Suge leaving, and then Pac was slowly but surely, you could say, taking over.
But this wasn't the reason behind their downfall. The infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry that plagued the hip-hop scene in the 1990s put their friendship to the test. As tensions escalated between the two coasts, Tupac and Snoop Dogg found themselves caught in the crossfire. The misunderstanding came after Snoop Dogg had done an interview on BET claiming his support to Biggie Smalls, Tupac's rival.
Biggie Smalls, he's an artist that I listen to his music, I love his work. There's no beef, it's nothing personal. I don't hate him and I don't disrespect him, and I love what he do, you know what I'm saying? And it's just me, I'm just a smooth, peaceful individual. I don't have beef with nobody right now.
Tupac saw this as disloyalty because according to the gang culture, Tupac's enemies automatically became his friends' enemies. And because Snoop announced that he didn't have a problem with Tupac's enemies, he was definitely the real enemy. The line was drawn and sides were picked, but Snoop Dogg still insisted that the rivalry didn't make any sense and that they were friends before they were ever foes.
We all used to hang out. I love Biggie and I love Pac, and both of them love me. So how I look saying Biggie?
Yeah.
Because I'm with Pac. We was on the same.
Yeah.
They rapping the same. We rapping, we got the same struggle, the same hustle. Why the we can't get along?
Yeah.
Why we can't like these?
He continued to say that he respects the game and doesn't allow his pride to take precedence, but the atmosphere had already changed. According to Snoop Dogg, he was seen as a traitor by his label mates because he didn't want to have beef with anyone in the industry.
But his aggression was towards me. So because I said, I'm cool with Puffy and Biggie doing the interview with you. Tupac took it as if I wasn't down with him no more, as if I was side busted, as if I was scared. Death Row looked at me as like a traitor.
One who he once called friend became his earnest enemy, and he quickly learned that he wasn't any special. Soon he would have to defend himself against the same friends. One time, Snoop's own security was denied entry into the label's private jet, leaving him without protection.
Normally on a private plane, it'd be Pac, his security, me, my security, Suge, and a couple of his homies. This time I go to the airport, my security walking with me. Suge like, hold up, they can't roll. They gotta catch a regular flight.
Separated from his security team, Snoop knew something was definitely wrong and he needed to protect himself or he wasn't going to get out of the plane alive. According to him, he armed himself with cutlery in case anyone tried to jump him.
I'm like, what's up, Pac? And they do me like this. So I walk to the back of the plane, give me a blanket, grab me a knife and a fork.
Snoop took the 5-hour flight holding his fork and knife, fearing for his life and ready to stab. Any and everyone in that plane should it get to that. The rest of the gang were laughing and joking around, but nobody was talking to Snoop. As soon as they landed, each of them took their Rolls Royce and left the airport. And that was the last time Snoop saw Pac alive. 3 days later, Tupac died, fatally shot in Las Vegas, and life for the hip-hop community changed. Tupac's death brought up so many emotions and reactions. One person who for a fact felt that there was some dirty dealings was Suge, the CEO of Death Row Records. He felt that Snoop was partly responsible for Tupac's death, and this fired up a decade-long beef. Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight beef. The change from one label to another is not a foreign concept today. Back in the 90s, rappers hopping from one label to another was a huge deal, especially when the label was topping charts, had given a rapper their career, and even stepped in to fight for the rapper's legal battles. But why would you want to leave a label that has given you all that you had and more? Well, Snoop Dogg had his reasons. Master P gave me some money, got me a house in New Orleans, bought me 2 Chevrolet Suburbans, put it all in my name. This is the first time anything was in my name. Everything was in Suge Knight's name. Brought my family to New Orleans and just showed me how to live and to slow down and to do business. Because I was learning the show, but I didn't know the business. Just a stand-up guy. These were Snoop Dogg's sentiments soon after leaving Death Row Records.
When I was on Death Row Records, we made a lot of fucking money. But Suge Knight controlled it all. Everything was in his name. He distributed the money, he passed it out, he gave you what he felt you should have. We got a lot of money, but it may not have been what we supposed to have. On No Limit Records, Master P taught ownership. These cars are in your name. This house is in your name. This account is in your name. You're gonna go get you some business. You're gonna go open up something. You're gonna establish yourself as a businessman. Shit that I wasn't taught on Death Row Records. All my cars was in Suge Knight's name.
Wow.
Get pulled over, police. Oh yeah, Mr. Knight. Who? I'm not Mr. Knight.
Wow.
All my cars?
And that's how you found out?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was just but a small reason why a record label and his artist would be at beefing, especially in the 90s, where the hip-hop scene was hot. Record labels like Death Row Records, co-founded in Los Angeles by ruthless CEO Suge Knight and top West Coast rapper and producer Dr. Dre, dominated the market in the 90s with a series of G-Funk classics, Dre's The Chronic, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, and Tupac's All Eyes on Me. But while the artists and executives of Death Row Records were, at the time, some of the biggest names in hip-hop, harmony between them would be short-lived, as seen by the increasingly bitter feud between CEO Suge Knight and one of the label's biggest selling stars, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's gangster credentials have never been in doubt. Before becoming a central player in West Coast gangsta rap, Snoop was an affiliate of the Rollin' 20s Crips and served prison time for cocaine drug possession while still a teenager. This would end up to be his turnaround to hip-hop music, something he started as a young boy. After getting out of jail, he linked up with Nate Dogg and Warren G, Dr. Dre's stepbrother, to start a rap crew called 213. They started selling mixtapes out of the trunk of a car, and that's how Dr. Dre heard Snoop Dogg and brought him in to work on his debut album, The Chronic. Snoop came over to Death Row, but rumors say Suge wasn't happy with the idea at first because they all came from different gangs. Snoop, the Crips, and Suge, Mob Pirates. That didn't stop them from working together. Snoop used his experiences in crime and jail to authentically inform his music on both albums he recorded for Death Row Records, as well as the appearances he made on The Chronic. With Dre's prominence with NWA and Snoop's participation in The Chronic, Snoop, Dre, and Suge were untouchable. Snoop became one of the hottest rappers in the game out of nowhere, and Death Row wanted to get his album out as soon as possible to keep the momentum up. But under the leadership of Suge Knight, Death Row Records soon became a deadly caricature of itself, one in which no one could be sure whether art was imitating life or vice versa. It was while Snoop was finishing up the record when he got caught up in a murder case that almost ended his career before it ever really started. In August 1993, Snoop and his friends were chilling outside of his apartment when a man named Philip Woldemariam came through and started causing issues. People who saw it happen said that Philip threatened Snoop with a gun, and this wasn't the first time. Plus, he had allegedly already pointed a gun at Snoop's head during a different time in a music video shoot. When Philip and his crew drove off, Snoop and his friends got in his Jeep and chased them down. They found Philip at a local park, and the crew started yelling back and forth. That's when Philip reached for his gun, and Snoop's bodyguard killed him before he could let off a shot. Snoop and his bodyguard both got hit with murder charges, and Snoop spent the next 2 years fighting the case, but his label stood by him and supported him through the trial, or so we thought. Having been acquitted of a murder charge in 1996, Snoop reflected his new maturity on his second album. He didn't want to live with all the negativity around the gang rap because he was now a father to a son and was now ready to turn a new leaf. The Dog Father was a rebirth of me. I'm not going to glorify any of this negativity that Death Row wanted me to do. I'm going to bring a positive side to music, Snoop revealed in an interview. He wanted to spread love, peace, positivity, but he was signed under the most violent record labels, who had already started waging the East and West Coast War. At this time, Tupac was in jail for sexual assault. Suge went to visit him in prison through Tupac's Wife Connect. A few days later, Suge went on the Source Awards to offer support to Tupac while publicly dissing Puff and Biggie.
And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
The East Coast-West Coast War was on, and everyone who was under Suge was obligated to offer support in the war. Basically, everyone who was in support of Biggie was their enemy. Kurupt, one of the artists signed under Death Row, attested to this during an interview with The Breakfast Club.
Suge didn't like him, so he felt nobody should like him. But we always got down with Puff and Big, always. So we was caught in the middle, you know what I'm saying?
Snoop wasn't flowing with this drama. According to him, the East Coast-West Coast rivalry started because of the huge radio bias against the artists, and not because the four individuals hated each other.
Well, basically, my point of view on the whole East Coast-West Coast thing is that you have West Coast radio stations that play East Coast music nonstop frequently. It's a part of their programming.
According to him, this segregation brought play hating within their audiences, thinking the West Coast music wasn't cool enough to be in their radios and that it was all radio politics. His liberal thinking fell on dumb ears. The East Coast and West Coast rivalry, fronted by Suge, Tupac, Biggie, and Puff, escalated overnight, and Snoop couldn't stay in Death Row anymore. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Other issues came to light as far as the Snoop and Suge's beef was concerned. Snoop Dogg recounts there being no accountability in the financial records. He said that Suge controlled all the money. The artist's sweat seemed to go into his pocket. In an interview with Elliott Wilson, Snoop went ahead to compare the difference in treatment between Death Row and No Limit. One thing about him, when he was in control of the business, he ran his business the way you really want to see a business ran, to where everybody had something and everybody was accountable. So he wasn't just giving you nothing for nothing. You had to earn that. And when you earned it, you put it in your name. And he taught you how to earn it and how to lose. So if you lost it, it's your fault. He mentioned that the other thing he liked about being with No Limit is being able to see his money. Nothing was hidden from him. Snoop claimed that when Sharitha Knight, Suge's wife, was his manager, and David Kenner, Death Row and Knight's lawyer, negotiated for his contract, they negotiated terms for both sides. He felt that his legal troubles had trapped him into a contract he couldn't get out of, and Suge was in charge of his life. He further stated that he wasn't able to get any royalties until the legal fees from his murder trial were complete. Death Row had begun recouping against Snoop's $5 million legal bill. That the victory had been financed entirely on Suge's dime worked to legally justify the label's position in ceasing to pay Snoop while it collected against the debt, did not calm the label's only remaining marquee superstar. superstar. As a result, the sentiment between the two parties grew all the more sour as months passed. Snoop, however, fought for his rights, and even remembers when Dre, Daz, himself, and others felt they were not being properly paid by Suge Knight, and constantly felt Suge's rage and negative atmosphere around the office. This further escalated, and in 1998, Snoop left Death Row claiming that he felt he was in danger. I definitely feel my life is in danger if I stay in Death Row Records. That's part of the reason why I'm leaving. After Snoop left Death Row, Suge put a hit on Snoop's head. Things went from bad to worse as Suge went to prison for violating probation, Tupac was murdered, and Snoop, fearing for his life, had signed to Master P's No Limit Records. In an interview on The Breakfast Club, Snoop puts this in his perspective, stating that he knew he was signing into a dangerous way of living, and that it came with the job.
He had to try to kill you, though.
Hey, man, I'm from the West Coast. It comes with the rules and regulations of the game. You know, I knew the job was dangerous when I took it.
Snoop Dogg extended an olive branch to his former ex-boss and ex-owner of Death Row Records in an attempt to squash the beef. He went on to give Suge his flowers and praise him for the impact he has had in his life. I love that man. He changed my life, and that gets overshadowed by the negative energy projected by him and the stupid shit he did when he was in the streets, and the picture that they paint as far as half the man. But if you know the whole man, there was more greatness in him than anything.
He loves me like I love him. I love everything he done for me as far as my music career, for believing in me and giving me a voice and, you know, just being there for me, just like he loved everything I did for him, building Death Row, building his brand. So we had conversations about what it was and what it could be and what it looks like when we at each other or when we cool with each other.
Well, we don't know how genuine this new bromance is, but old school hip hop fans hope that it will remove the rift between the two. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.